Up. I look weird.
No, you look amazing.
I look like a butterfly.
Yes, you do. It looks so pretty.
Thank
But you
you.
are pretty, so that's that
Thank
one plus one
you.
equals two.
Thank you. Okay, we are back again with another reading video.
Yeah,
Uh, I think it's gonna be a quick one because we both don't have a lot of that time today.
like two chapters,
Maybe max. I don't know. We'll see.
each a chapter.
But we left off at the start of chapter 4. So get your books and then who's gonna start?
Do you want to start?
I don't care. I'll start. Okay.
Let's go.
Okay. Chapter 4, Ava. 2 days later, Josh was in Central America and Alex was all moved in. I'd watched the movies carry a giant flat screen TV and boxes of varying sizes into the house next door, and Alex's Aston Martin was now a daily sight. Since stewing over my situation wouldn't do me much good, I decided to make lemonade out of lemons. The gallery closed on Tuesdays during the summer, and I didn't have any shoots scheduled. So I spent the afternoon baking my signature red velvet cookies. I just finished packaging them in a cute little basket when I heard the unmistakable roar of Alex's car pulling in the driveway, followed by a door slam. Shit. Okay, I was ready. I was. I wiped my sweaty palms against the sides of my thighs. I shouldn't be nervous about bringing the man cookies, for Pete's sake. Alex had sat at our Thanksgiving table every year for the past 8 years, and for all his money and good looks, he was human. An intimidating one, but a human nonetheless. Plus, he was supposed to look after me, and he couldn't do that if he bit my head off, could he? With that reassurance in mind, I grabbed the basket, my keys, and my phone and made my way to his house. Thank God Jules was at her law internship. If I had to hear her talk about how hot Alex was one more time, I'd scream. Part of me thought she did it to annoy me, but another part worried me she was actually interested in him. My best friend hooking up with my brother's best friend would open up a can of worms I had no interest in dealing with. I rang the doorbell, trying to still my rampaging heart while I waited for Alex to answer. I wanted to chuck the basket on the front step and run home, but that was the coward's way out, and I was no coward. Most of the time, anyway. A minute passed. I rang the doorbell again. Finally, I heard the faint sound of footsteps, which grew louder until the door swung open, and I found myself face to face with Alex. He'd taken off his jacket, but otherwise, he still wore his work outfit: white Thomas pink shirt, Armani pants, and shoes, blue Brioni tie. His eyes roved over my hair, tossed up in a bun, my face, hot as sun-scorched sand for no discernible reason, and my clothes, my favorite tank and short set, before settling on the basket. His expression remained unreadable the entire time. They're for you. I shoved the basket toward him. They're cookies, I added unnecessarily, because duh, he had eyes and could see for himself that they were cookies. It's a welcome to the neighborhood gift. A welcome to the neighborhood gift, he repeated. Yep, since you're new to the neighborhood, I sounded like an idiot. I know you don't want to be here any more than I want you here. Crap, that came out wrong. Ooh, I almost dropped the book. But since we are neighbors, we should call a truce. Alex arched an eyebrow. I wasn't aware a truce was necessary. We're not in a war. No, but I blew out a frustrated breath. He had to make this difficult. I'm trying to be nice, okay? We're stuck with each other for the next year, so I want to make our lives easier. Just take the damn cookies. You can eat them, throw them out, feed them to your pet snake, Nagini, whatever. His mouth twitched. Did you just compare me to Voldemort? What? No, maybe. I used the snake as an example. You don't seem like the type who'd have a furry pet. You're right on that account, but I don't have a snake either. He took the basket off my hands. Thank you. I blinked. Blinked again. Did Alex Volkov thank me? I'd expected him to take the cookies and shut the door in my face. He'd never thanked me for anything in my life. Except maybe that one time I passed him the mashed potatoes at dinner, but I'd been drunk, so my recollection was hazy. I was still frozen in shock when he added, "Do you want to come in?" This was a dream. It had to be, because the chances of Alex inviting me inside his house in real life were lower than me solving a quadratic equation in my head. I pinched myself. Ow. Okay, not a dream. Just an incredibly surreal encounter. I wondered if aliens had abducted the real Alex on his way home and replaced him with a nicer and more civil imposter. Sure, I managed because hell, I was curious. I'd never been inside Alex's home before, and I was curious to see what he'd done with Josh's place. He had moved in 2 days ago, so I expected to see stray boxes lying about, but everything was so polished and put together it looked like he'd been living here for years. A sleek gray couch and 80-inch flat screen TV dominated the living room, accented with a low white lacquered coffee table, industrial chic lamps, and Josh's abstract painting. I glimpsed an espresso machine in the kitchen and a glass top table with white cushioned chairs in the dining room, but otherwise there wasn't much furniture to speak of. It was a drastic difference from Josh's messy but cozy collection of random books, sports equipment, and items he collected from his travels. You're a minimalist, huh? I examined the strange metal sculpture that looked like an exploding brain, but probably cost more than my monthly rent. I don't see a point in collecting items I don't use and don't enjoy. Alex placed the cookies on a coffee table and walked to the bar cart in the corner. Drink? No thanks, I sat on the couch, unsure of what to do or say. He poured himself a glass of whiskey and sat opposite me, but it wasn't far enough. I caught a whiff of his cologne, something woodsy and expensive smelling, with a hint of spice. It was so delicious I wanted to bury my face in his neck, but I didn't think he'd take too kindly to that. Relax, he said dryly. I don't bite. I'm relaxed. Your knuckles are white. I glanced down and realized I was clutching the edges of the couch so tightly my knuckles were indeed white. I like what you've done with the place, I winced. Talk about a cliche line. No photos, though. In fact, I didn't see any personal effects. Nothing that showed I was in an actual home and not a model showroom. Why would I need photos? I couldn't tell if he was joking or not. Probably not. Alex didn't joke, except for that one blip in his car a few days ago. For the memories, I said, like I was explaining a simple concept to a toddler, to remember people and events. I don't need photos for that. The memories are here. Alex tapped the side of his forehead. Everyone's memories fade. Photos don't. At least not digital ones. Not mine. He set his empty glass on the coffee table, his eyes dark. I have a superior memory. My snort slipped out before I could stop it. Someone has a high opinion of himself. That earned me a shadow of a smirk. I'm not bragging. I have hyperthymesia, or HSAM, highly superior autobiographical memory. Look it up. I paused. That I hadn't expected. You have a photographic memory? No, they're different. People with photographic memory recall details from a scene they've observed for a short time. People with HSAM remember almost everything about their life, every conversation, every detail, every emotion. Alex's jade eyes morphed into emeralds, dark and haunted, whether or not they want to. Josh never mentioned this. Not once, not a hint, and they'd been friends for close to a decade. Josh doesn't tell you everything. I'd never heard of hyperthymesia. It sounded fantastical, like something out of a science fiction movie, but I heard the truth in Alex's voice. What would it be like to remember everything? My heart rate picked up. It would be wonderful and terrible, because while there were memories I wanted to keep close to my heart, as vivid as if they were happening right before my eyes, there were others I'd rather let fade into oblivion. I couldn't imagine not having the safety net of knowing horrible events would eventually recede until they were only faint whispers from the past. Then again, my memories were so twisted I remembered nothing before the age of 9, when the most horrible events of my life had occurred. What's it like? I whispered. How ironic the two of us were sitting here, me, the girl who remembered almost nothing, and Alex, the man who remembered everything. Alex leaned toward me, and it was all I could do not to back away. He was too close, too overwhelming, too much. It's like watching a movie of your life play out before your eyes, he said quietly. Sometimes it's drama, sometimes it's horror. The air pulsed with tension. I was sweating so hard my top stuck to my skin. No comedy or romance, I tried to joke, but the question came out so breathless it sounded like a come on. Alex's eyes flared. Somewhere in the distance, a car horn honked. A bead of sweat trickled between my breasts, and I saw his gaze dip to it briefly before a humorless smile touched his lip. Go home, Eva. Stay out of trouble. It took me a minute to gather my wits and peel myself off the couch. Once I did, I all but fled, my heart pounding and knee shaking. Every encounter with Alex, no matter how small, left me on edge. I was nervous, yes, and a bit terrified, but I'd also never felt more alive.
Okay, chapter 5, Alex. I slammed my fist into the mannequin's face, reveling in the sharp burst of pain that jolted up my arm at the impact. My muscles burned and sweat dripped down my forehead into my eyes, blurring my vision, but I didn't stop. I'd done this so many times that I didn't have to see to land my hits. The smell of sweat and violence stained the air. This was the one place I allowed myself to unleash the anger I kept under careful wraps in all other areas of my life. I'd started Krav Maga training a decade ago for self defense, but it had since become my catharsis, my
Catharsis.
sanctuary. Ooh,
Catharsis.
catharsis. My sanctuary. By the time I finished pummeling the mannequin, my body was a mess of aches and sweat. Told the
Towels.
jeez, towel
Perspiration. Towel the perspiration.
toweled the perspiration off my face and took a swig of water. Work had been a bitch, and I'd needed this release to reset. Hope you worked off your frustration. Ralph, the owner of the training center and my personal instructor since I'd moved to DC, said dryly. Short and stocky, he had the powerful build of a fighter and a mean mug, but deep down he was a teddy bear. He'd knock my lights out if I ever told him or anyone else that, though. You looked
Sorry.
like you had
I can just imagine a really short and stocky guy. Okay, sorry.
like Fred. Fred for sure.
Okay.
Composure. You looked like you had a personal vendetta against Harper. Rolf named all the training dummies after the TV characters or real life people he didn't like. Shitty week. We were alone in the private training studio, so I spoke more freely than I would have otherwise. Besides Josh, Rolf was the only person I considered a true friend. I could go for the real thing right now. Dummies were good for practice, but Krav Maga was a hand-to-hand combat method for a reason. It was all about the interaction between yourself and your opponent and responding quickly. Couldn't do that if your opponent was an inanimate object. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Gotta end right at 7, though. No overtime. There's a new class coming in. I raised my eyebrows. Class? The Key M Academy catered toward intermediate. I'm not. My mouth is not doing what it needs to be doing right now. The
Sorry,
same. I
that
tried to
sounded
say
really fun.
regularly.
Regularly.
I can't. Regularly.
It's KM Academy.
KM Academy.
You said
I said-
KM. Okay.
Okay, KM Academy catered toward intermediate to advanced
Practitioners.
and specialized in one-on-one or small group sessions. It didn't host large classes the way most other centers did. Ralph shrugged. Yeah, we're opening the center up to the beginners. Just one class for now. See how it goes. Missy bugged me about it until I agreed. Said people would be interested in learning it for self-defense and that we have the best instructors in the city. He barked out a laugh. 30 years of marriage. She knows how to stroke the old ego. So here we are. Not to mention it's a good business decision. KMA had, had little competition in the area, and there was likely pent-up demand for lessons, not to mention loads of yuppies who could afford the prices. Ralph's eyes twinkled. That too. I took another swig of water, my mind spinning. Beginner lessons. Oh God. I knew this was gonna come. Might be a good idea for Eva. For anyone, really, man or woman. Self-defense is a skill you never want to use, but which could mean the difference between life and death when you do have to use it. Pepper spray only gets you so far. I fired off a quick text to her before Ralph and I started our session. I still wasn't happy playing babysitter, but Ava and I had settled into a wary truce, her word, not mine, since her olive branch the week before. Plus, when I commit to something, I commit to it 100%. No how have
Take a breath.
no have essery or phoning
Yeah.
phoning it in. Phoning it in.
Phoning.
Phoning, okay. I promised Josh I'd look after his sister, and that was what I'd do. Sign her up for self-defense lessons, upgrade her house's shitty alarm system. She'd thrown a fit when the security company woke her up at 7 in the morning to install the new system, but she got over it. Whatever it took. The more she stayed out of trouble, the less I had to worry about her, and the more I could focus on my business and plan for revenge. I wouldn't mind more of those red velvet cookies, though. They were good. I especially wouldn't mind if she delivered them wearing the tiny shorts and tank top she'd worn to my house. Ooh. An unbidden image, an unbidden image of a bead of sweat trailing down her bronzed skin into her cleavage flashed through my mind. I grunted when Rolf landed a punch in my gut. Fuck. That was what I got for allowing my thoughts to stray. I set my jaw and refocused on the training session, pushing all thoughts of Ava Chen and her cleavage out of my head. An hour later, my limbs felt like jelly and I had several blossoming bruises on my body. I grimaced, stretching out my limbs while the low hum of voices filtered through the closed door to the private studio. What you laughing about?
It sounds like a tongue twister. Several blossoming bruises. I can't pronounce it.
Right? That's my cue. Ralph clapped me on the shoulder. Good session. You might even beat me one day, if you're lucky. I smirked. F you. I can already beat you if I won. I'd come close to doing it once, but part of me liked the fact I wasn't the best. Yet. It gave me a goal to strive toward. But I would win. I always did. Rolf's laugh rolled through the sweat-dammed space like thunder. Keep telling yourself that, kid. See you Tuesday. After he exited the room, I checked my phone for new messages. Nothing. A tiny furrow creased my brow. I I texted Ava almost an hour ago, and she was a compulsively fast replier unless she had a photo shoot. She didn't have one today. I knew because I made her promise to tell me every time she did, along with the location and the client's name and contact info. I always ran background checks on the clients beforehand. There were crazy people out there. I sent a follow-up text and waited. Nothing. I called. No answer. The fact that after an hour he sends an extra text, though, that's kind of cute.
But like he said, a compulsively fast replier, that's me. Yeah.
I hate not being able to answer.
Yeah, same.
I cannot leave it
I
open.
have to. Same. I have to answer if I open it.
You know those little numbers above the app when you get like a DM at Instagram, it says the 1 or the 2 or something. I hate those. They need to be gone. So I have to answer everything.
Same.
Yeah, I called, no answer. Either she turned off her phone, something I told her never to do, or she could be in trouble. Blood everywhere, on my hands, on my clothes. My heart rate ticked up. The familiar noose around my neck tightened. News. What the fuck is news?
Oh.
Okay.
Something like to restrict the airways, I think. That is what he's talking about. So.
Yeah, no, that I got, but what is that news? I
don't know.
Okay. I squeezed my eyes shut, focusing on a different day, a different memory. That of me attending my first Krav Maga lesson at 16, until the red stains of my past retreated. When I opened them again, anger and worry coalesced. What stupid words are these? Coalesced into a block in my stomach, and I didn't bother changing out of my training clothes before I exited the center and took off for Ava's house. You better be there, I muttered. I blocked and flipped off a Mercedes who tried to cut in front of me at DuPont Circle. The driver, an overgroomed lawyer type, glared at me, but I didn't give a shit. If you can't drive, get off the road. By the time I arrived at Ava's place, I still hadn't received a reply, and a muscle pulsed dangerously in my temple. If she was ignoring me, she was in deep shit. And if she was hurt, I would bury the person responsible 6 feet beneath the ground, in pieces. Where is she? I dispensed of the usual greetings when Jules swung open the door. Who? She asked, all doe-eyed innocence. I wasn't fooled. Jules Ambrose was one of the most dangerous women I'd ever met, and anyone who thought otherwise because of the way she looked and flirted was an idiot. Ava, I growled. She's not answering her phone. Maybe she's busy. Don't F with me, Jules. She could be in trouble, and I know your boss. Wouldn't take much more than a word from me to derail your internship. I'd done my research on all of Ava's closest friends. Jules was pre-law, and the internship between a student's junior and senior years was critical for admittance.
Yeah.
Okay. Admittance into a competitive law school. All traces of flirty
coquettishness
melted. Jules narrowed her eyes. Don't threaten me. Don't play games. We glared at each other for a minute, precious seconds ticking by before she relented. She's not in trouble, okay? She's with a friend. Like I said, she's probably busy. She's not glued to her phone. Address. You're hot, but you can be a real overbearing asshole. Address. Jules huffed out a sigh. I'm telling you if I can go with you to make sure you don't do anything stupid. I was already halfway to my car. 5 minutes later, we were speeding back to DC. I was going to bill Josh for all my gas expenses when he returned, just out of spite. Why are you so concerned? Ava has her own life, and she's not a dog. She doesn't have to jump every time you say fetch. Jules flipped down the visor mirror and retouched her lipstick when we stopped at a red light. For someone who claims to be her best friend, you're not concerned enough. Irritation coiled in my stomach. When have you known her not to reply within minutes of receiving a text or a call? When she's in the bathroom, class, work, sleeping, showering, a photo. It's been almost an hour, I snapped. Jules shrugged. Maybe she's having sex. The, a muscle jumped in my jaw. I wasn't sure which version of Jules was worse. The one who always tried to convince me to mow the lawn shirtless, or the one who
Relished.
relished baiting me. Why couldn't Ava have lived with one of her other friends? Stella seemed more accommodating, and given her background, Bridget wouldn't ever say the shit Jules said. But no, I was stuck with the red-headed menace. No wonder Joss always complained about her. You said she's with a friend. I pulled onto the street where said friend's house was located and parked. A male friend. She unbuckled the seatbelt with a beatific smile. I cannot put that picture in my head. What the fuck is a beatific smile? Just something like.
I think so.
Thanks for the ride and conversation. It was enlightening. I didn't bother asking her what she meant. She just fed me a heap of sugar-laced bullshit. While Jules took her sweet time, I exited the car and banged an impatient fist against the front door. It swung open a minute later, revealing a skinny, bespectacled bespectacled man, Jesus, with confusion stamped on his face when he saw Jules and me standing there. Can I help you? Where's Ava? She's upstairs, but who? I shouldered my way past him, which wasn't hard considering he weighed 160 tops. Hey, you can't go up there, he yelled. They're in the middle of something. Fuck that. If Ava was having sex, a dangerous rhythm pulsed behind my temple at the thought, that was all the more reason for an interruption. Horny college guys were some of the most dangerous creatures in existence. I wondered if she'd gotten back together with her ex. Josh mentioned the weasel had cheated on her, and she didn't seem like the type who'd crawl back to someone after they treated her terribly, but I wouldn't anything past Miss Sunshine and Roses. That bleeding heart of hers would land her in a heap of trouble one day. Once I reached the second floor, I didn't need to guess what room she was in. I heard sounds bleeding through the half-open door at the end of the hall. Behind me, Jules in spectacles pounded up the steps, the latter still blabbering about how I couldn't be up here even though I was already fucking here. I didn't know how... Oh, sorry. F in here. I didn't know how humans survived this long. Most people were idiots. I opened the door all the way and froze. Not sex. Worse. Ava stood in the middle of the room, clad in a skimpy black lace getup that left little to the imagination. She huddled next to a guy with spiked blonde hair holding a camera. They were whispering and laughing while staring at the camera's display screen, so engrossed in their little tete-a-tete, they didn't notice they had company. My
Tete-a-tete.
I find tete-a-tete leuker. Tete-a-tete, okay. My temple
Why did you
pulsed.
turn Dutch again?
Because it's my first language. Some things sound better in Dutch because they don't have an English translation. Okay. My temple pulsed harder. What? My voice sliced through the air like a whip. Is going on here? It wasn't a question. I knew what was going on. The setup, the rumpled bed, Ava's outfit. They were in the middle of a photo shoot with Ava as the model, dressed in something that wouldn't be out of place in Playboy magazine. The strappy concoction Ava wore barely covered the necessary bits. It looped around her neck, burying her shoulders, and plunged to her navel in the front. The high cut bottom left her legs and most of her ass bare, and other than the areas covering her breasts and between her legs, the sheer black lace revealed more than it covered. I'd never seen her like this. It wasn't just the outfit, it was everything. The usually straight black hair that fell in luscious waves down her back, the made up face with the smoky eyes and glossy red lips, the miles of golden skin and curves that etched themselves into my brain forever. I was caught between disturbing lust, she was my best friend's sister, for fuck's sake, and inexplicably fury that other men were seeing her like this. Ava's eyes widened with alarm when she spotted me. Alex? What are you doing here? I tried to stop him,
It's a
spectacles
long chapter. Damn.
Jesus, panted, out of breath. Living proof that skinniness does not equal fitness. He's here for you, babe. Jules leaned against the doorway, her amber eyes glowing with amusement. You look super hot, by the way. Can't wait to see the pics. You are not seeing the pics, I ground out. No one is seeing the pics. I yanked the blanket off the bed and tossed it over Ava's shoulders, covering her up. We're leaving. Right now. And Blondie here is deleting every photo he took of you. Her jaw dropped. No, I'm not. And he's not. You can't tell me what to do. She threw the blanket on the ground and lifted her chin in defiance. You're not my father. Defiance.
I'm trying to help you.
I know. But it's a okay.
It's an F.
Defiance. You're not my father or brother, and even if you were, you have no say in what I do in my free time. He's taking photos of you half naked, I snapped. Do you know how destructive those can be if they're leaked? If a future employer sees them? I volunteered for this, she snapped back. It's
Boudoir.
That's the word. Boudoir photography. Artistic. Artistic. People do this all the time. It's not like I'm burying it all for a porn site. How did you even know I was here? Oops. Jill said behind us. She didn't sound sorry at all. You might as well be. The simmering in my blood had reached a full boil. Get dressed. Nuh-uh. Ava's glare intensified, and she dragged out the word no until it had two syllables. Hey, dude, I don't mean no harm. Blondie let out a nervous chuckle. Like she said, this is art. I'll edit it so her face is in a shadow and no one can tell it's her. I just need the photos for my port. What are you doing? He squeaked in protest when I snatched the camera out of his hands and started deleting photos, but fell silent when I leveled him with a death glare. So, I'm sorry.
You're okay?
Yes, just a little burpee. Stop, you're being ridiculous. Ava tried to retrieve the camera to no avail. Do you know how long those photos took? Stop! You are... She yanked on my arm. It didn't budge. Being... Another yank, same result. Unreasonable. I'm protecting you, since you clearly can do it yourself. My mood darkened further when I saw the pictures of her lying on the bed, staring sultrily at the camera. How long had she and Blondie been doing this? Alone. It didn't take a genius to figure out what had been going through his mind the entire time. It was the same thing that would have gone through any red-blooded male's mind. Sex. I hope Blondie enjoyed his working pair of eyes while he still had them. Ava stepped back for a minute, then lunged for the camera in a poorly concealed attempt to catch me off guard. I'd expected the move, but I still grunted at the impact there. She scrambled over me like a fucking spider monkey. Her breast grazed my arm and her hair tickled my skin. My blood heated at the sensations. She was so close I could hear her breath coming out in soft pants. I tried not to notice how her chest heaved or how smooth her skin felt pressed against mine. They were dangerous, twisting thoughts that had no place in my mind. Not now, not ever. Give it back, she ordered. It was almost cute how she thought could order me around. No. Ava narrowed her eyes. If you don't give it back, I swear to God, I will walk out into the street wearing this outfit. Another bolt of fury sizzled through me. You wouldn't. Try me. Our faces were inches apart, our words so soft no one could hear them except us. Nevertheless, I lowered my head so I could whisper right in her ear. If you step a foot outside this room in that outfit, I'll not only delete every picture on this camera, but I will destroy your friend's career until he has to resort to advertising shitty $5 an hour headshots on Craigslist. A wintry smile touched my lips. You wouldn't want that, would you? There are two ways to threaten people: attack them directly, or attack those they care about. I wasn't above doing either. Ava's mouth trembled. She believed me, as she should, because I meant every word. I wasn't a senator or a lobbyist, but an obscene net worth, thick files of blackmail material, and years of networking had granted me more than my fair share of influence in DC. You're an asshole. Yes, I am, and don't you forget it. I straightened, get dressed. Ava didn't argue, but she also refused to look at me as she disappeared into the bathroom across the hall to change. Blondie and Spectacles gaped at me like the devil himself had poofed into their house. Meanwhile, Jules grinned like she was watching the most entertaining movie of the year. I finished deleting the photos and shoved the camera back into Blondie's hands. Never ask Ava to do something like this again. I towered over him, relishing the subtle shake of his shoulders as he tried not to cower. Cower?
Hmm.
Cower. If you do, I'll know, and you won't like what happens next. Okay, Blondie squeaked. The, the bathroom door opened. Ava brushed past me and said something to Blondie in a low voice. He nodded. She placed a hand on his arm, and my jaw ticked. Let's go. The words came out sharper than I'd intended. Ava finally looked at me, her eyes flashing. We'll go when I'm ready. I didn't know how Joss dealt with her with all these years. 2 weeks in, and I already wanted to strangle her. She murmured something else to Blondie before she stalked past me without another word. Jules followed, still grinning. I cast one last glare in Blondie's direction before I left. Silence
Permeated.
permeated the car as we drove back to Thayer. Jules sat in the back seat, tapping away on her phone, while a stone-faced Ava stared out the window from the passenger seat, her shoulders tight. I didn't mind silence. I craved it. There were few things I found more irritating than incessant,
Incessant, yes.
incessant, pointless conversations. The weather, the latest blockbuster, who broke up with who the fuck cared? Still, something compelled me to turn on the radio halfway through the drive, though I left the volume so low I almost couldn't hear the music. It was for your own good, I said over the tiny beats that of the latest rap hit. Ava turned her body further away and didn't respond. Fine, she could be mad all she wanted. The only thing I regretted was not smashing Jesus was not was not smashing Blondie's camera altogether. It wasn't like I cared about her silent treatment, not one bit.
Sounds to me like you care.
You care a whole bit, my man. The way he gave those guys like separate names as well, just of their appearance. Like it.
Yes.
I want to keep reading.
What do you? Yeah. Well.
So sad. What are you gonna do for the rest of the day, though?
Well, I have to take a shower and get this off my face.
Fair point.
And I don't know. It's probably not really. I was gonna say close to dinner time, but not really.
Man, that's sad.
I still have to edit everything.
Do you know what do you want to Jesus. Calm down and try again. Do you want to see what I made?
For what?
Nothing, just because.
Okay, as long as it's not my birthday gift, yes.
No, of course not. I would never do that. It needs to be a surprise. Hold on, let me show you. I'm so excited. Ta-da!
Oh, nice. That looks good.
Yeah. The white chocolate covered strawberries.
Nice. I like strawberries.
Me too. And they were only like $2.40. And they're from Spain. So
Nice.
I got them for my dad. I hope he's not going to be mad.
Why would he be mad about that?
Well, because they're not in season yet, so they're overpriced. But at my shop where I work, they were like €5, and now they were $2.40. So I was like,
It's fine.
Otherwise, I'll eat them all myself. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
More for me.
Okay, so what did you think about these two chapters that we read?
I
Really
loved it.
quick because we have like 4 minutes.
I loved it. I love his protectiveness. It's so fucking obvious that they have feelings for each other. They just don't want to admit it to themselves. And I like it. I like that slow burn, enemies to lovers kind of vibe.
What do you think is gonna happen?
We're gonna hopefully discover their secrets, or at least the shit that happened in their past, because we need to know why he's such an asshole and why she's so happy to be in the whole world. And I think that they are going to like collage, like how do you say that? Like
Collide.
that at some point where they're like they have to admit that they like each other, but they're gonna fight about it, and then eventually there's gonna be like angry makeup sex or something like that.
Okay, and what about his revenge that he keeps talking about?
I don't know. I feel like somebody murdered his family, and he has to like he feels like he has to revenge that. So I think he's gonna kill people.
Okay.
or or destroy them so much that they can never have a normal life again. Something like that. Am I close?
Maybe. You're only gonna find out like late in the book.
That's sad. About the revenge or about what happened in their past?
Both. I think the revenge later, if I'm correct. It's been a while since I read the book. So this is a good reread for me because I don't really remember everything.
Okay, well, we'll see then.
Okay.
And I think Josh is gonna be mad at first, but after that he's gonna like them together.
Could be.
Yeah, maybe. And Josh and Jules will get together.
Girl, that's book 3.
Now you spoiled it.
All the books are like a couple. You know that when you start reading books, like book 2 is about Bridget, book 3 is about Jules, and book 4 is about Stella.
I didn't realize it was all the girls' friends together.
Yes, it's all interconnected.
Okay, never mind.
It's not a spoiler.
Okay, good to know.
Okay,
Well,
so this was us reading another 2 chapters, and yeah, we'll see when we have time for the rest. Maybe one day when we're together, we can do like a
readathon.
I don't know, maybe a live stream and just
A readathon.
yeah, but live stream it maybe.
Yeah. I want to do a readathon when I'm streaming live and do like an hour or 2 of reading, just ongoing, see how much I can read.
Yeah, maybe we can try that one day on Twitch or something.
Twitch? I used to have Twitch.
Same.
But, oh, nice. I don't have it anymore.
Same. Anyways,
maybe I'll do it this week on our account.
we gotta hurry. So okay, thanks for watching this, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.